Okay, so welcome back to the class. Uh, Today we will continue on a couple of important things in business research, and one of them is the grounded theory, which you will see from. Let me minimize all those, which you will see from this picture. So what does it mean by the? I will repeat again and again in many different occasions and slide, but let me start with the what does it mean by grounded theory. If you look carefully from the word grounded theory, you will not be difficult to realize a couple of things. One of them is that it is about a theory. So actually it's about developing a theory. Of course, you also can test the theory, but more of a theory building, and you build the theory from the ground. You build the theory from the ground, meaning that you are building the theory from the data, from your field, data field, from your empirical field, from your real application. So if you go to the factory, you go to a production flow, and there was some you want to know how in the factory to run so smoothly, and was it because of the way they organize the production practices, or was it because of the clear work instruction, or was it because of the skillful the labors around, or was it because of good supervisors, or was it because of systematic the management and monitoring system, or was it because of the support of the information system, or was that because of the culture, or was that because of the clear quality policy, good quality control? So all this, there is no, you don't need to read the textbook, and you do not need to go to literature review. All you have to do is you go to the HO field, empirical field, and start grounding your theory. Okay, start understanding the data, and start understanding the data, and start understanding the the patterns of behaviors, and understanding the reality in that practical world. We call grounded theory. Okay, so this is very important. So therefore, grounded theory, business research approach, which is one of the very important research method, starts with very minimal understandings of the situation of the phenomena. So we call minimalist a priori construct. Construct, I already discussed with you. It means variable, and it is an abstract variable. A variable can be concrete, can be construct. Concrete in a sense like age, things that you can easily understand and without some confusion. And constructs, it's a variable that is abstract in the sense that is a conceptual variable, so that you really have to provide the concepts definitions before you can understand the meaning of construct. So this is very important. So if I ask you in the final examination, which from now on we will have a final examination because of the attendance situation, a disciplinary situation. Sometimes we do not want it, but some things we have to plan to check. PDCA. This is normal situations in the world. So minimalist a priori construct. Okay, so once you have that minimally construct with some very minimum background of knowledge, then what you do is that you go directly to the field. So inquiry into the practice directly to the factory. So assumes that you are, you know, freshly employed. Okay, for example, you are freshly employed, and or maybe you know, when I was a vice president in operations and factories, and you come to make an interviews, and I recruit you, and so you come to the factory floor, and I ask you, could you you know, increase the, tell me why this factory one and factory three has a very different productivity paid behavior, and give me some recommendations within 10 days. I give you, you know, you go to the factories from the early morning, 6 o'clock, 6 a.m. and until 5 p.m. and then every day, Monday to Sunday. And you tell me what happened, okay? And so you so therefore, basically, I have given you the factory, so you're already selecting the cases. But otherwise, if you're doing your own research, you need to sampling cases. You need to do your own sampling of cases. Okay, so you need to do your own sampling of cases. So sampling cases, I say here the reasonable n and have adequate data complexity and data richness, variation of characteristics, meanings that you need to select some n sample. So it could be 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, depends on whether you're able to get a good a degree of complexities and a good understandings of your data. See, I mean, you have sufficient depth of data in your empirical field, okay, to help you understand your research problem. As I just explained to you, that I need you to do something about it to understand the factory differences, productivity differences. So you have to have sufficient. So you have reasonable n. In this case means because I give you only one case. So a reasonable n means how many times that you need to go and understand. So of course, I give you 10 days. So you need to go 10 n equal to 10, and this n 10 days has let's say only one batch, only you know, a night shift you do not need to go. So this is for example, and times 2 factories. Okay, so things like that. Variation of characteristics, it depends on how many complexities and variation in your factory flow. Was it the labels variation, and this morning shift label is different from, you know, from the afternoon shift, and is it different from different days of the working hours? I mean, the working of the factory. Was it different from the batch of the raw materials? Was it different from the different supervisors? Sometimes there's a shift of supervisors, you know, alternating between different dates, not the time. So it really depends on variations that you already understand the complexities. When you do research, is not that straightforward, right? So you have to make your own decision. But because I'm telling you all these things, so it looks like simple. But when you go and do yourself, it maybe takes a few years. I do not know. Okay, so anyway, you have some, if you look carefully, so we go to the empirical field factory or whichever things that you want to study. And then you gradually understands the data. Day 1, you do not understand. Day 2, you start to, you know, a little bit. Day 3, day 4, you talk to people, you review the documents, and then you observe it, and you do it by yourself, and then blah, blah, blah. And then slowly you forms a gradual understandings of your factory situation. So right, you start to form some theory, you start to know what happened. why this makes that happens, and so on and so forth. Okay, so gradual formations of theory building, and generalization. So once you have a gradual formation of understanding of the phenomena of your factories, the things that you're looking for in your according to your research purpose, then slowly you believe that theoretical finding is applicable to any times of the day, and can apply to all kinds of factory, and can apply to almost all situation. So this is called generalization. It means that your results can be generalized, right? Your results can be generalized. It's just like marketing. Your results can be marketed to many different market, right? We call generalization. So there's no difference between business research, operations management, marketing, branding, whatever, right? So if you really understand there is not much different, otherwise human beings will be, drawing up of the mind, because there are too many knowledge that we have to absorb, right? It's all the same. And so that's why we can become a good general managers or vice presidents or presidents or CEO in the company easily, okay? Because there's not much different. It's all about your customization, your generalization, and if you and then because your car factories are a lot of factories, so I'm just asking you to help me on factory 1 and factory 3 to make a differences inquiry into the practice. So I now kind of like you, and so I promote you, and I ask you to go and help me apply what you have done in other factory, and see you can improve productivity by 10%, and which will help the company save maybe 20% of the cost. Okay, and in the meantime, increases the transfer your knowledge to everybody else, and put it into quality manuals, ISO 9001, and start training all the peoples in all the factory. And so this is called knowledge creation and theory testing. So the whole process of research, it's really nothing but starting from very minimal, which is some abstract form that you do not really understand, to something a little into the practical field. So it's very concrete, and the concrete field involves the breadth and depth of the data, and so you can observe documents, reviews, and interviews, and practical hands-on experiences, and talk to the engineers and production CEO, production advisors and supervisors, and laborers, and division managers and managers and things like that. So you kind of inquiries deeply into the organizational behavior and event. Slowly, because this is very concrete, and things the research has benefits only when you are able to generalize, able to form some theory, meaning that you start to move from some extraction to concrete, and then back to extractions and into more extraction, broader extraction, meaning you can generalize into other factories. And so this is the in fact, this is, you can see as time progresses, you can see the level of data changes, right? This is the whole situation. So hope that you understand the situation. So when you do the research, make sure you understand, and when your final exam, make sure that you understand that the progress of the level of data from some extraction to broader extractions in that sense. And in between, when you go into the practical field, like every day for 10 days you repeat again and again, doing the same routine again and again. So recursive, right? Recursive procedure. So you often take a long time, longitudinal, couple of weeks, a couple of months, couple of days, a couple of years. Maybe some research lasts for 3 years, longitudinal, because you want to see how a community, for example, how a community develops. Okay, from today's onwards to 3 years time, and to see really things really it is what it is, say. Okay, so it's a recursive, right? And then once you repetitively go through the processes, you will start to perceive the situation, understand the situation. So you kind of have interpreting data. Again, it being guided by existing literature, but it's only on a minimal basis. So it is guided by existing literatures on a very minimal basis. So this is existing literature through comparative method as well. And sometimes you interview them, sometimes you documents review, sometimes you do some experiment yourself, sometimes you do some survey yourself, sometimes you talk to the other people, sometimes you go to talk to the supplier, sometimes you do other things, and so on and so forth. So you are developing theory through many different channels, different modes. Okay, so this is called grounded theory. It is mostly, although there are some quantitative happening inside, but majority of the dominance approaches are still qualitative. Although qualitative doesn't mean you cannot have quantitative. Quantitative research methods can have quantitative survey. So it is predominantly a qualitative research method that uses a very systematic procedure, as I just told you, to develop inductively, starting from data to the theory, lead to a grounded theory for whichever phenomena you are studying. So this is called grounded theory, a very important. So you can see that research, when you progress from one end to another end, you will be able to see the differences, okay, and so things like that, and it's very important, and something so important, but we okay, so hopefully you have started to understand the another aspect of induction, okay, which is research about making progress with the time. Okay, so very important, very important aspect of the research. Let me see whether we can find other things to do, to additional to the grounded theory. So just different versions, right? Different versions. You can go through different versions of what we mean by grounded theory. So this is basically the research is about theory and data interaction among each others. The red side talks about the deduction, the deduction dominated research. So we start with a strong literature review, and then we have a research purpose objective, which guides our reading. And then from our reading, we then comes to some formative research questions or hypotheses, such as sometimes when we read the literature review, we we start to get some research question. Is innovation relating to entrepreneurship? If so, does it relate? Does it relate through other influencing factors? And if so, what kind of benefits would you get? And if not, what other weaknesses would you get? And things like that. So these are research questions. But sometimes the literature reviews are very structured and have already a lot of the knowledge involved, so that you maybe not necessarily need to come up with research questions. You can generate a lot of hypothetical relationship, and through this hypothetical relationship, then which involves variables 1 to variable 2 to variable 3, just like research question. I have explained to you that you involves variable 1, variable 2, variable 3, but the questions and hypotheses are posed in a different format. Hypotheses are posed, expressed in the statement form. These are expressed in the question form, and then from there you have to from the extract form, you have to you want to collect the data, so you need to give a good definitions of the construct of all the variable, and then try to design a questionnaire, operationalize it, which we have talked about it already, and then from there you can because you operationalize through questionnaire, and you ask them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 responses. 1, strongly disagree. 2, strong disagree. 3, neither agree, disagree. 4, agree. And 5, strongly agree. Just like the bowling, right? Operationalizations, that the way you score the score, you design the operational card of the bowling. So once you define the bowling skill, and the skills come from a hypothesis, right? Right, as more practices, constant practices of bowling, certainly eventually in short times, a couple of months times, we'll be able to become proficient in bowling skill. Okay, so all this terminology, you need to define it, and you need to operationalize it, whether through questionnaire or through some equipments. Maybe if you want to measure densities, you have to have a definition: density equal to mass time divided by volume. And so how do you measure the volume, which is not that difficult? You can measure the volumes by calculus. You can measure if it's a simple volume, fine, very easy. We all know that, but if it's a bit difficult volume, you can really define by calculus, surface area, and the triple integral of the surface area, and then slowly you can find your volume, and then the mass you can weight it, and then you can get your density. Okay, so this is not difficult, and so this is how we measure. And once you get the data, then you can start to analyze the data, and then you things like that. Okay, statistics. But if you start from empirical grounded theory, for instance, qualitative research, a lot of time they do not have a strong theoretical background. So you start with the data, just especially for grounded theory. And then so what you do is that you have to analyze the data to see data are people talking about it, long statements, and people you review the the documents, pages and pages of documents, maybe volumes and volumes of documents. So you want to know what the data talk about it. So maybe they talk about, maybe your data it's about the entrepreneurship. And so you need to find out the characteristics of entrepreneurship. Does it happen at the individual's level? Does it happen at the organizational level? Does it happen at community levels? Does it happens at the interactive level, boundary crossing spanning level? The nature of entrepreneurship, is it incremental? Is it transformational? Is that innovative in the sense? Is that more traditional practice based, or is that technological based, or is that relating to management, innovation relating to management, which therefore drive the entrepreneurship? Is that innovations improving the processes, and then therefore improve the entrepreneurial processes, or so on and so forth. So you analyze the data to form the themes or category. Okay, so the categories or themes like entrepreneurship, the characteristics of it, the nature of it, the innovation perspective of it, the productivity perspective of it, the opportunity exploration of it, the opportunity exploitation of it. All these are category. So you form the themes and you form the category, and you start to go deeper into your results, your data, and find for any patterns, any patterns between different entrepreneur. Okay, because you have a lot of data about different entrepreneurs. So do you already find from one entrepreneur like this, and is it happening, repeating for other entrepreneur? And if so, then you can find the patterns, and if so, more patterns, more similar patterns, more broader patterns, and then therefore your research outcome is more generalizable, meaning that you can sell to everybody. You can confirm, conclude that what you found, it's generally very good. And then slowly, because of this generalization, you start to form theory, right? And once you have the theory, and the next step you have to do is you compare, because you already have a lot of good understanding of your data. So you compare with you can now, because sometimes you do not know where your theories are, and you start your data, start your quantitative. Now you should be able to go back to compare your data conclusion and the theory that you found with other people's experiences, and which is more case study comparisons, and with the literature, because now you have masters all the knowledge, and so you can really go back to understand more. Okay, so this is once you get good comparisons, then you are pretty sure of certain theory, and then you can repeat the deduction again. You can do the survey, and by this time you do not need to go through this. You can straight away go to data analysis, statistical data analysis, and then go to the theory. Okay, so grounded theory, data analysis, and report writing. Usually there are 3 stages. Again, you can be whichever you want to do, but just roughly 3 stages. Let's go through it one by one. Basically, I have already just explained it to you, and you should be able to understand them quite easily. So in the first stage called open coding. Okay, so open coding, if you look into the names, okay, this is very important. If you look into the name open coding, so you're trying to give a code. So there are statements and statements and statements of people. For example, you interview people. Excuse me, could you tell me how you come to today's achievement as an entrepreneur? Okay, and then he said, well, just a long story, but let me give you a couple of examples, something that I can recall quite easily and has a good memory for me. And I can come to today actually because of number one, myself is very important. Second is that I get a very good environmental support. My family, proximities of family is very important. So because during the times I have a lot of challenges, and it is my family to help me out. So family support, this is called open coding. Personal effort, so tool coding. Okay, this is called coding, right? So I hope if you come to the class you will know, and otherwise if I give you exams, or if I ask you the assignment, you will start to have problem. Okay, in the beginning, everybody will have a good grade. Okay, 80%, 85, or 80 mostly, and then slowly, because you're losing the class, even though I speak very in depth and very slow, and then you start to losing your foundation, your track, so you're not able to handle. And that is the reasons why slowly, day in, day out, week by week, you're out of your stability. So you cannot get it's starting from 80, 85 to 70, and then slowly to 60s, and then after that 50s, and then if I a bit very strict, and then actually it's maybe 30, things like that. Okay, and so this is a very big problem and very big issue, something you can control very easily, because my explanation is very simple, and we've followed along. I don't really, we have a lot of slide, but every slide we can slow or fast, depends on the discussion. So we are not, and we have a lot of examples, and we step by step we go through it one by one, and so it's supposed to be very easy, but it ends up very difficult, okay, in terms of research. So again, in the first stage, I hope that you understand. If you don't understand, please raise your hand again. I mean, just say it, okay? In case I do not, I skipped your chat or whatever, so you just simply raise your hand. I mean, voice out, okay? So in the first stage of your grounded theory research, okay, if I ask you to do first stage of your data analysis. This is data analysis of, this is not the first stage, okay? The first stage I already explained it. This is the three-stage data analysis process. So when you get into the data, first thing you have to do is open coding. And this open coding is very important. So for example, if I am, when I was vice president, and if I walk into the factories and I look at, if I ask my managers or factory managers, so I have let's say I have 5 factory which under my operations responsibilities. I walk to factory number 1, I say, excuse me, factory managers, tell me the open coding, I mean, tell me the open codings means tell me what you observe. Okay, what you observe today, why there is a complaint. Okay, tell me why there is a complaint, why there are all many similar complaints from USA. Okay, and why we are still not able to get completed on the traceability system, quality traceability system. Why we are still not able to improve our cost by 10%, reduce our cost by 10%. This is called open coding. Okay, so it's a very serious issue. It's a very serious issue. If I do not see all this open coding, you are not going to be promoted. You're not going to be promoted. Okay, and so open coding, it's a day-to-day this discussion. Okay, it's day-to-day understanding. Okay, so what we do is, because you already have obtained a lot of data, so we call transcribed data. Okay, so maybe you interview people, you have a lot of transcribed data, and also come from your own notes. Okay, because when you walk through the factories, you take your own notes, and sometimes some interviews and questionnaire. Okay, and you mark all these important ideas and concepts with some descriptive words, like for example, as I told you, right? Well, tell me what happened, why the traceability system was blah 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 blah. Well, number one, email from your data, probably you found out there's some important idea is that the traceability was not there because we tried to develop the traceability systems ourselves, or maybe there's some issue in terms of the barcoding, the way we do the barcoding. The barcoding was fine, but the stock units labeling, okay, is the SKU, right? The stock keeping stock unit. It's not descriptive enough for us to track the sources all the way from the beginning of the supply chain, first tier, second tier, all the way to factory flow. And from our factory flow, it flows from one end to another end. Is not so robustly sufficient. Sometimes we are not able to 100% keep track. And for sure that we can trace back. So and we cannot trace back. Maybe there are other issues that we cannot. The way we trace is too slow. Okay, instead of 1 minute, we have to trace by sometimes the whole day just to find a slot, a batch of a problem. Okay, so this is and you will not be able to get a promotion if you're not strong in open coding, because this is your responsibility as an employee. Okay, so second step is the Asia coding. Asia coding, you can see very easily. Decide which concepts are the most important and begin to order them so that one phenomena leads to another. So let me show you. If you do not understand Asia coding, you will not be able to also get promoted. And even though you're very good in open coding, maybe I will say you are so talkative. Okay, you are not pragmatic. Asia coding means that you can easily organize your so many things you tell me, you make a conclusion. So you say, oh, I ask you what happened to these challenges on the traceability. Well, there are this, there are this, there are that, there are so many things, and you know, so I say, so what? So what is going on? Tell me the real organized way of understanding. What is the key issue? So what is the key issue? You have to organize them into a key issue that is called Asia coding. So where is your objective of your research? And focus back your open coding back to your objective, right? Back to your research objective, so you can address your research objectives in a meaningful way. And that is how you can solve your factory problem. Okay, and the third stage is that you not only can solve the factory problem, not only can solve the research problem, but also you can selectively pick the examples and explain them very easily. Okay, so selective coding is you put the finishing touches on your explanation of the phenomena. Your focus is on the main idea of your explanation called storyline, and you put finishing touches on your grounded theory. So you're kind of touching up and give a final touch, and capable of selectively looking into, you know, why this happens, what causes what, and you can zoom in, zoom out, and you can explain things in a very important manner. For example, well, during certain times of the day, traceabilities, if it's following these standards, it will have no problem. In certain other time, we will have a problem, and therefore that certain other time is the things that we need to solve. So you kind of really understanding the key issue. So this will give you a more storyline and more meaningful interpretations of your previous tools data. Okay, so if you again look into a different story again, different pictures again, on how you analyze the grounded, how you analyze the qualitative data analysis, which grounded theory is one of them. So give you examples, okay, on how you can analyze the data. So the data that you go to the field and trying to get a good understanding, whether through documents or interviews or observations or talking to people or dialogues or debates or discussion, group discussions, or maybe some experimentations, whatever. But this is mostly interview script or documented scripts and things like that. And so what you do is that you go through your data. Okay, you go to your data. This is one example. So you go to your data. You can find out, and that depends. Okay, sometimes people look at this as Azure coding. To me, it may be open coding. So it really depends on your capability or skills. Okay, so if you can straight away look at it as strategy, then it's open coding. If you cannot, then you slowly coming out from open coding and then make sense out of it from the objective of the papers of your research. So this becomes Azure coding. So it really depends on the situation. It's not a big deal. And so I kind of open coded that from the interview script there are strategy issue, performance issue, internal factors issue, external factors issue, order fit issue. And then from there, I organize back into my research objective, which is trying to see how the performance is being influenced by the strategy and the factors. And I found that I can organize them that the strategy really comes before the performance, and the performance is really relative to the competitors and also relative to the industry, and the strategy is influenced by both the internal factors and external factors in a sequential sense. And so I kind of actually coding this, and then from there I can scan across the entire interview scripts again and select the relevant chunks of discussions that fit into the themes that I want to do. So I can go back to the interview script and I can selectively scan across the chunks of the discussions and explain to me what kind of the differences, what kind of natures of strategies that we have. Was that a differentiation strategy in certain sense and cost leadership in other sense, or a hybrid on another sense, or the stories of how the externals influences the strategy and things like that in a very detailed sense. So I can tell the story, and then when the externals happens, the strategies comes into the picture, and so on and so forth. So I really is making a progress from data to information, okay, and to knowledge, which is starting to form the shape of the theory, and to the wisdom. Okay, so if you want to slowly if you want to say, well, this is knowledge, then you will have another steps before that. Okay, this qualitative is different from quantitative. Okay, quantitative analysis. Quantitative you already have learned in statistical analysis. What you do is you start with the data. Okay, a questionnaire survey, and you arrange a questionnaire survey in Excel form, right? In Excel form, so you have the variable 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, just like this. Let me okay, well, anyway, in Excel form, and this is your respondents 1, respondent 2, respondent 3. So this is your Excel database. If you work in any companies, any factories, if you do not know this database structures, you will have difficulties in the factory, or in the productions, or in the company. So all the companies are operating from enterprise resource planning system, right? Enterprise resource planning system, which is coming from from all this the data. Okay, so this is your cost of this is your database, and this database can come from various data that you have. Okay, and you can things like that. Okay, you can all these are database. Okay, and behind the database, uh, is Excels. Okay, the forms that I have just told you. Okay, behind that. Okay, so from here we can what we do is that we need to have a lot of the describing the themes. So we have to know the variables, variable 1, variable 2, variable 3. So we have to find out how the variables are performing. So we have to know for the scale to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, what is the average number, average values for variable 1. It could be 3.5, it could be 4.1, it could be, so we can know which groups of variables are performing and which are not performing. And relative to the populations group of different factories, which factories are performing better than other factory, and which products are performing better, and what is the activity-based cost, which one is better. So you can see all kind of description. So we are describing the themes, we are describing the differences, we're describing the situation, and we are sorting out the differences. We are creating a different group. So this one means corporate citizenship, that one means commitment, this one means productivity, that one means innovation, that one means traceability, and so. And all these variable and themes that we can go to, these are all information. So we have a lot of informations which we can generate from the data. And then from there, we can interact the information and generates the knowledge, right? The relationship between the informations, between the themes becoming the knowledge. And if we apply to improve our productivities and business performances, we call generalizability. So again, whether it is qualitative or quantitative, it moves from data to information to knowledge and to wisdom. It moves from data to information to knowledge and to wisdom. Okay, so it's very simple. Okay, and again, in qualitative, it is not linear. It many feedback loops required at every step. So every step, a lot of loops. So it's not a linear situation. Maybe a lot of moving, a lot of the non-linear feedback loops, back and forth, 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 back and forth. Okay, experimentation, right? Innovation, divergence, convergence, things like that. Okay, so give you another example, which is a more systematic, a little bit slower than what I have just explained it to you, which is again fine, doesn't matter. You can start with anything. So what happened is this: when for example, if when we go into let's say when I was working on a research in helping the governments of Myanmar, and we were I was helping them in terms of how we can improve the hotels productivity, and from various perspective, from the perspective for example, from one of the perspective is from the perspective of the customer perception. So we from how the customers perceive the hotels, and so you can interview people and they talk about, oh yeah, wow, it really is, I found that it is uh, I can rely on these hotels very much. Any times when I was having some difficulties on my on my luggage was from Singapore to Myanmar's Yangon, and my luggage was not able to get into Myanmar on time, and I already in this hotel, and the hotel was able to handle my luggage. So reliability, right? Okay. And dependability. It really handles the luggage on times, very quickly without delay, and which is very speedy, and in a very quality sense, and informs me all the times when, where is my luggage now, and then give me the comfort that I can uh, go on with my journeys of traveling and things like that. So all this we can call it open coding. Okay, so we can call it open coding, open coding, open coding, open coding, and then we know that all of this, according to the research objective, this is all about service quality, and that is called Asia coding. So we are reorganizing all these very, very small fragmented items, and we know that they all mean the same thing: speed, quality, dependability, reliability. They're all meaning the same thing. They are part of the experience that we get stimulated from, and we can in view of our research objective, that how we can improve the performances, productivity of the hotel. We do not need to know so detail. All we have to do is to group them under a different name, different aggregate name called Asia, called service quality. So this is called Asia coding. Okay, so I hope that if I give you a project on you go to do a grounded theory by interviewing people for whichever project assignment that you think that you can handle, and this is what you will be telling me. Okay, and again, this is a statement. This is not a word. Okay, this is the in detail. There are a lot of it's a huge statement here, right? It's people talk about their experiences on reliability, but this one's one of the very important theme is reliability. So it doesn't mean only one word. Okay, so interview script is a very lengthy statement discussion. So Azure coding really follows open coding, right? Once the initial open coding has been done, okay. Once the initial open coding has been done. So this is the interview script, a very long statement of what people share with you. It could be sometimes a couple of sentences, half a pages, and depends on how talkative they are. And this is the open coding. You open code that there is a theme called reliability that describe very important perspective on item one. Okay, of course there are maybe within item one there may be a lot of other issue, right? But one of them is reliability. So once the initial open coding has been done, we then recombine them around the axis of the core codes. Okay, so we know that we know that this all revolve around the axis of service quality. So so it's in the sense like and this is an axis, right? Okay, so this is like an axis. Okay, in engineering terms. Okay, we this is like an axis, right? And everything's revolve, right? Everything's recombine the data around the axis of the aggregate of the coding, right, of the core code. So this one is called service quality, quality, okay, service quality, right, service quality. So this is the core actual axis, right? This is axis. This is in mathematics you already learned from your high school, okay, first year high school, right? And things that revolve, things that revolve, things that revolve around this axis, okay. This is what we means by a computer is a bit slow, not so sure because of the signal. Hope that the voice is very stable and not interrupted in the sense. Okay, so anyway, so it revolves around the service quality, and all those revolves around the service quality. We have many version, right? Many situation. Okay, many situation. Okay, so some of the one of the service quality is called reliability. Another one is dependability. Another one is the speed, and another one is the quality. And this is what we means by revolving and around the service quality. Okay, so actual coding follows open coding. Once the initial open coding has been done, initial coding has been done, we combine all this similar open coding into the same core concept. Okay, core concept. Okay, we call the open coding, actual coding. So actual coding identifies the relationship between the open coding. Okay, so there is a relationship between each others. Okay, there is a relationship. Reliability depends and is as a relationship with dependability, and is related to speed, and is related to quality. All of those are service quality. So for the purpose of developing a core concept, which eventually account for a big substantial proportions of variation in the research phenomena. So if you're putting into statistical analysis, you study statistics, right? You know that that if you have only one variables, for example, if you have only one reliability, the variability is so huge, and then dependability is huge, and but then you try to shrink all the variation to be a more narrower wide variations, meaning you get a more capability to explain some phenomena. That is what we means by substantial proportions of variation. So you kind of increases the ability to explain your key concept in your research objective, and that is what we means by core concept. Okay. So in a sense that actual coding grouping all the sub items to a very important concept we call construct. So it is getting more and more abstract. So it's getting more and more abstract. Okay. So reliability. Okay, you can know that, well, reliability means reliable, right? Okay, so it's more concrete. Dependability means ability that I can depend on you, right? Such as just on time, on delivery on time. Okay, I can understand, it's pretty concrete. And speed, well, okay, I understand it's about speed, okay, velocity and quality, okay, well, pretty okay. And service quality, it's a little bit more abstract. So we are therefore forming the sub item into a more abstract concept, abstract variable, okay, and things like that. So example, sub variables, sub items like reliability, speed to service quality, okay. And we the last item is called selective coding. So selective coding selects the story to tell each part of the model, especially linking to the focal code. So we know that in research, we are trying to explain a theory called SOR theory, which I hope every of you already have understood. What is SOR theory? SOR theory is a very important consumer behavior theory. It's a very important marketing theory. It's a very important brand management theory. So if you want to develop a brand, SOR is very useful. If you want to develop the consumer behavior application, SOR is very important. If you want to develop a very successful marketing strategy, SOR is very important. If you want to develop the ICM, marketing communication, SOR is very, very, very important. So all of these are called a storyline. The storyline of customers being stimulated. And when they are being stimulated through different encounters, the customers will form organistic concepts, organistic images, organistic feeling, and they will form the commitment, images, feeling, perception, and attitudes, and then slowly respond to whether to buy your product, to intend to buy your product, to respond with satisfaction, or response with words of mouth, and response to whatever. Okay, for example, I was talking to students from one of the students was studying communication in Bangkok University. And she told me that she was getting consultations from me, through friends, and that she want to study the. She's in the communications majors, and she want to do a research on in China's one of the applications, and social media application. And so we can apply the communication theory to find out the electronics word of mouth through the online travel service application, and then from there we learn how this the tourists perceive, interpret, and forms attitude, and then whether they will intend to use the services of the applications and things like that. So selective coding, therefore, is starting from all these sub items, okay, and then open coding, and then we group them together into Asia coding, and then slowly we put into a storyline that something gets stimulated is going to form organistic of concepts and feeling from the tourists, from the customers, and only by having the organistic formation that they are able to respond positively to the service offer. So marketing strategies will have to go through all before acceptance of the consumer. Branding stimulation, such as brand awareness, brand identities, brand the personalities will have to gain the brand trust, brand reliability, and things before becomes brand loyalty. Okay, so we kind of put them into a focal core concept. Okay, and that concept becomes your selective coding. Okay, so you kind of selectively code and bring all the open Asia coding and selectively put them into a structure form and to explain your theory. So we call selective coding. So select the story select the story to tell each part of the model. So you can say that when we are in traveling experiences in Yunnan, China, we the very interesting. All the buildings are very much like Chiang Rai, or in Thailand, and even more creative than Thailand, because even the high-rise building, they have all this Thai style build of the buildings roof in Vietnam, and they also make use of a lot of solar system, and so organistically we know that the country is very culturally rich, and the country, the Yunnan provinces, is technologically attractive. I mean, technologically favored. They favor technology. They are willing to utilize the technologies for convenience, for saving, and they and then because we have a good impressions, we any times we think that this if we should bring our children to Yunnan to experience how the countries or country, I mean how the province state in China organize themselves to be so uniquely different to benefit the citizens. So we will respond with coming back to Yunnan again, right, for the next opportunity trip. And so this is select the story to tell each part of the model, especially linking to focal core concept. Okay, so this is how we from moving from the open coding to Azure coding to the selective coding. So selective coding requires that you have a selective, you have selected focal core concepts and focal core codes, okay, and which already coming from your Azure coding that you combine. You have 3 Azure codings, 1, 2, 3, and this you combine them together. And in fact, there are many X in here, many O there too. What is the central phenomena that you're looking for? Okay, so the central phenomena will slowly emerge from your Azure coding. So you start to look at your Azure coding, service quality, and the brand trust, brand commitments, things like that. And then slowly you try to analyze the data again and again, and you see that there is a storyline, there is an interconnection between service qualities and organism, and you know how X influences O and how O influences R, and just like the story I just told you in Yunnan. So you slowly understand the jigsaw story of the whole research that you are doing. Okay, so you selectively coding requires the selections of the focal code. That is a central phenomena which has emerged from the Azure coding process. All other core codes derived from the Azure coding process must be related in some way to this. Okay, so once you already have understood and found out your to explain all the necessary Azure code to explain your central code, you already have formed a shape of the core coding concept. Okay, so your selective coding will be the final stage in completing your theory building process of your qualitative data analysis. Okay, and once you have understood it and you think that this is sufficiently robust and valid, that it has a good quality, that it really tells the story of the situation, and you think that it is not necessary, or maybe you have compared with your, as I already told you from the very beginning of the grounded theory, that you have already compared with literature review, that you feel that it is similar to most of the literature review that you identify, and so you kind of confirm that your central phenomena is rightly justified and explained, and so you kind of making a conclusion that this is probably the final way and the right conclusion. So if that is the case, all other core codes. Okay, could be the environments, could be in general informations, could be the crowdiness of the tourists. How many do they come with family, and do they coming alone? Do they, what kind of transportation they come? So all other core codes that you can generate. Again, you can just fit into this code final selective coding process directly or indirectly. Okay, in statistics we call ANOVA test, t-test, right? Testings of two variables, t-test, testings of three variables, differences we call ANOVA test, and analysis of variance, things like that. So it's not very difficult. It's all you have studied before. So these codes can be classified as I already told you, right? Sometimes representing the the context, right? The environment, right? The way where you from, you coming alone, and how many times you have come here or whatever, and plus all the theory. So really, all these codes cover all kind of environmental application issue, the condition. Do they come on with this transportation or that transportation? Is the raining day and non-raining day making a difference? Is the seasons and non-season making a difference? If it's seasonal issue may be very crowded, and very crowded causes the stimulations to be going down, because the service qualities of the hotel comes down because there are too many customers need to be served, and things like that. And then you feel that you cannot trust them, so you're not satisfied with them. So again, these codes classify as representing context, condition, the action taken by the customers, the action taken by the hotel, the action taken by the destination, the action taken by the brand, the action taken by the product, and the interaction strategies, the outcomes, and so on and so forth. Okay, so these are called the code. So in this way, okay, the theoretical concepts comes into the picture. Okay, this is the theory building. So you build a theory, right? You build a theory, and you can also test the theory in this similar way. Not necessarily you build the theory, but you can also test the theory. I mean, to build the theory is SOR, but building the theory means that you found out something that are interesting for a particular context. Some particular context needs particular stimulation, and some particular context has different has particular organism, and some particular context and application has certain particular way of responses. Okay, so things like that. So in this way, a theoretical concept, a theoretical framework of interrelated concept, okay, or interrelated concept, right? The interrelated X causes the Y, influences the O, and O influences the R, and maybe X also influences the R, things like that. So in this way, a theoretical framework or interrelated concepts can be developed, okay, showing the relationship between all these core concepts, okay, and things like that. So this is including, of course, all these moderating variables and mediating variables, which we have already talked about it, okay, and things like that. So in conclusion, is that qualitative data starts with we go to the field and interview people, observing people, maybe look at all the documents, and maybe form some discussions groups, and slowly we interpret the data into by use of coding, and then from there we can build a theory or modify a theory, or some new theories coming into the picture. We call emergent theory, right? So the sequence is actual data's domain is your data, and then we go to open coding, which is finding out what are the key issue, key variables that has been discussed in a rough sense, or the key themes discussed, and then we organize all these key themes relating to our research objective. We formed Asia coding, and then we put into our storyline and tell the relationship between each of the open code of the Asia coding in a theoretical manner. So Asia coding and selective coding are therefore necessary to put the codes into context. So this is very easy. Okay, if I am a CEO and I ask you, tell me what happens in the factory, and you are able to tell me, well, this one is important, that is important, this is called open coding. But if you want to get your high salary, you must able to tell me what is important in the way, in the things that can make sense to the organization, that can make sense to improve the productivities of the company, that can make sense to improve the quality of the factory flow, that can make sense to improve the cost structures of the factory floor. That is Asia coding, and even more so from the selective coding. So you are so skillful to be able to tell the relationship in a skillful manner. So if I say structure, cost structure, I know about cost structure that you can reduce from relating to this and that, but show me how it's going to be impacted on. I mean, how it's going to be realized, and you are able to tell me very quickly with a story that, well, if if we can streamline the engineering support and do not let the engineers to do only the maintenance, but allow the engineers to also be a part of the observer of the production flow, so they can observe the machine and things like that, and so they can suggest some changes, some changes in the production flow, on using the machine and technology, and maybe we can put some sensors, and so that we can do the preventive maintenance during the night shift, during the night where there is no shift, and so you can you can put things into perspective. Again, these are not easy, not straightforward. Okay, not easy. Even though I tell you, it really takes a lot of time for your explanation, for you to gain a good knowledge. Just to give you an example, repeat what I have discussed with you last 2 weeks, is it's a theory, right? Emergence theory, which means model. So a model has simple structures, independent variable, so that it is not the variable is not depending on anybody else, and it is for example, the stimulus coming from the organizations, coming from the company, and then this is the perceptions of the tourist, of the customer, and then this is the response of whether they will come back and buy your product again and again. So before independence can influence marketing behavior, can influence the customer response, you have to go through consumer behavior. So marketing responses or brand management has to go through the consumer behavior and brand perception before customers will respond. And similarly, a good integrated communications will not be able to cause stakeholders to respond positively unless certain mediating variables exist in between. So this is what we mean by a theory, okay, and some things you found out, which is called emergent theory. Okay, even though the shape is the same, but many items are different. And so if you study marketing strategy is sufficient or not, it is not sufficient. If you study brand management is sufficient or not, it's not sufficient. If you study integrated marketing communication is sufficient or not, it's not sufficient. Okay, if you study all these are not sufficient until you are able to integrate all these into certain reasonable theoretical understanding that is called Asia and open coding. Okay, and which is model is formed as when you progress from this open coding, Asia coding, and selective coding. So you must be able to integrate all this open coding in a very meaningful way, until all the way to theoretical formation. Okay, and actually the theory already started. Okay, and then you are able to selectively explain your theory, and that is